Hi, in this session we are going to discuss about the economic importance of coral reefs and salient features of Acnidaria, part 1. So, the learning objective of this class is to study the economic importance of coral reefs and the salient features of Acnidaria. And by the end of the session, you will be familiarized with the economic importance of coral reefs and some salient features of Acnidaria. Now, let's see what are the importance of coral reefs. But before that, just recall in previous session, we have discussed about the coral reef, how the coral reef formation takes place, and the different types of coral reefs that are seen on Earth. Like we have seen the fringing reef, the barrier reef, we have seen the atoll, and we have also seen the examples example for each type of coral reefs. Now you might have you might have thought what might be the use of these coral reefs, how they are ecologically important, or do they have any use to human beings? Definitely yes. These coral reefs play a very important role in the ecosystem because they are considered as one of the biological indicators. Their presence tells us that the atmosphere or the water quality is good, and their absence is an indication that the water is polluted. So in that way it's a very good biological indicator. And in nature too, they always help in maintaining a balance, they help in maintaining ecological equilibrium. So that means these corals are integral part of our ecosystem. Even though they are tiny, but in colonies they produce kilometers together coral reefs, but they are their role in the ecosystem we can never ignore. Okay, so with that introduction, let's see one by one what are the economic importance. So we are not only discussing about the coral reef as a member of ecosystem that helps in maintaining the equilibrium, or what role it plays in the ecosystem. Rather, here we'll focus more on how these coral reefs are useful to human beings. The first point what I can discuss here is about the oil industry. So how coral reefs are interacted, or how they are involved with the oil industry? Where is oil and where is coral reef? You might be thinking, but it is not true. The almost 50% of the oil extracted is somehow it is related to the coral reefs, because these coral reefs they'll act like reservoirs of crude oil or the fossil oil. Okay, so because of their porosity, this the oil can percolate and it will be preserved in the deeper parts of the corals. They may not be directly involved as a oil, but they are acting as a reservoirs of the crude oil, from where the oil is then further extracted. Of course, the fossil corals might have contributed to the oil formation directly, but indirectly these are involved in oil industry. And as I said earlier, around 50% of or almost 50% of the oil what we get, the oil reservoirs are nothing but the coral reservoirs. Okay, the second importance is as a habitat. Coral reefs they play a very important role in the aquatic ecosystem, because they are the habitats for many number of other animals. For both flora and fauna, they are the habitats. So they provide a surface on which different animals can live. There is some kind of mutualism between the other animals and these corals of coral reef. And most of the wonderful fishes and varieties of fishes are found in the greatest coral reefs, in those areas where there are coral reefs. And when they form a fringing reef or they form a barrier reef, they are actually providing a different ecosystem altogether for different fish species, which is totally different from the actual sea, in the open sea. So the open sea is always subjected to turbulence and all, So that means some minor fishes may not be able to survive, but because of the coral reef, okay, in the fringing reef area or in the barrier reef area, they provide a totally a different kind of ecosystem, micro ecosystem for different fishes. So varieties of fishes are found in the coral reef. So as a habitat also, coral reefs play an important role. And the third most important use of coral reef is that some of the corals are used for ornamental purposes. In our one of the sessions, we have seen that the corals can be of different colors, and that will depend on what kind of metal is impregnated with them. Basically, all corals are formed of calcium carbonate only, but depending upon the metal type present, they'll have different colors. So that might give some kind of pigment. So one of the famous coral, as you can see in the slide here, that is the red coral, okay, and you might know what is called in Kannada as havala. So they are, we all know, we are all familiar, they are used in jewels, isn't it, jewelry. They are very commonly used in the chains and in at least in South Indian part, in the Mangal Sutra, they use it as a it has a auspicious role to play, or auspicious status in the South Indian culture. So they in the ornament, as an ornament in the Mangal Sutra, in chains and earrings, and even in finger rings, these corals are used, and they are highly precious ones. They cost a lot, okay, and these are usually from the Corallium rubrum species. Robustum and rubrum, so mostly rubrum is used here. So as an ornament also, the coral reefs are economically important. And then we have two more uses of economic significances of coral. One is the one of the species, certain species of porites, that is a porites is coral genus. So species of this are used as building materials. There are quarries of these coral reefs where blocks are cut off, and then they are used in constructing the walls, constructing the houses, buildings, temples, and even there are some olden churches. They have been built using these kind of corals. So they are actually are important as building materials, even though now we have different alternatives, but in olden days they were one of the chiefly available building materials. And that's why old buildings, particularly these cathedrals or in temples, you might find the coral reef blocks, okay. So that is one use. And in the next slide we also see that corals are used in the production of lime. This is because, you know, coral, basically the body of coral is formed of calcium carbonate, isn't it? So lime is obtained from that, and these in painting the walls and all, they used to use these corals. After processing, anyway, after powdering it and processing with the hot water, it could be applied on walls. So now we have synthetic paint, but in olden days these what we call as a whitewash was used on walls, and they were either from the shells of molluscans, or they are from the corals, okay. So this is another use of corals or coral reefs in general. And most importantly, in the ecosystem, they'll act as a ridges against the storm and the rising sea level. So they are going to they're going to act as a natural barriers, you know, barrier reef. It act as a natural barrier. They form a kind of wall around a particular area, might be around a island, so that it will always help in protecting those island, the flora and fauna of that particular island from the storms, okay, and even from the increasing sea levels. What you are finding here is this one is from the ant atoll of Pompeii, okay. So that's from Micronesia, and these kind of similar natural ridges are found throughout the world, where actually they protect, they safeguard the islands, the flora and the fauna of those islands, okay. So this is another very important significance of the use of coral. And here I cannot directly say that it is a truly economic one, but definitely it is a importance, okay. when we talk about ecologically, it plays a very important role. Okay, and other than these things, they can also act like a good nursery ponds for fishes. Now this can be a natural or artificial nursery, I mean nursery for fish. So naturally, as I said in the beginning, they can be a good habitats. So plenty of different varieties of, as you can see on the slide there, 1500, over 1500 different species of trophical fishes and other variants. It can be any other aquatic animal. Most of them are found in these barrier reefs. In addition to that, man-made nurseries. So when we are interested in fisheries, so these coral reefs can be used as nursery ponds, and so their rearing can be done in those areas. So in that way, it is economically significant one, economically important one. Okay, so here coral reefs will also act as a good nurseries. So they are used in the oil industry because they are good oil reservoirs. Okay, and then they provide habitat, then they act as ridges, and then they are used in ornaments. Okay, then they are used as a building materials in the production of lime. So like this, they have different uses. Okay, and so that's about the coral reefs and their significances. We are going to the next part of this session, and that's about the Acnidaria. Okay, or and the example for here we are talking about Ctenophora. Now the name Acnidaria is because these animals, they don't have nidoblast. What we have seen in our one of the, I mean previous, the corals, they are nidarians because they have nidoblast. Whereas another related member, here they don't have nidoblast, so they are called as Acnidarians without nidoblast. That's the meaning. Okay. Now the example here we are talking about the Ctenophora. This Ctenophora, they are also known as sea walnuts or comb jellies. They are called as comb jellies or sea walnuts. You know, walnut is actually a nut. Okay, and the nut, if we have, you might have seen them, at least the pictures of these walnuts, their outer surface is a serrated type, isn't it? And these Ctenophora members also have those kind of serrated outer surface. That's why they are called as sea walnuts. They look like that, at least on the surface. And then they are also called as comb jellies. You know, comb, that the one which you used to, I mean, in on a hair, what we call in Kannada as a bachanige or hanige, whatever it is. So why it is called as a comb? Because it has a tooth-like appearance, isn't it? And these also have some tentacle type structures on their surface, and because of that they are called as comb jellies. And the name Ctenophora is derived from Greek word where Ctenos means comb and phoros means bearing. Phoros means bearing. So that which bears some comb is called as or can be called as a Ctenophora. See here, the name is because they have these see these, can you see, does it look like a this comb? Okay, it looks like a comb, isn't it? So here, since these stone, I mean teeth like comb is present on their surface, they get their name Ctenophora. And how many are there? So usually they possess around 8 such plates. Okay, comb like plates are present. Basically they are for locomotion, so the name Ctenophora or comb jellies. Body is jelly like, so almost it looks like some jellyfish, even though it is not. But they are called as comb jellies, jelly like body with combs on the surface. That's how you can say the comb jellies or sea walnuts, or specifically Ctenophora is their name. Okay. Yeah. Next, let's see at least few features for today. So the first feature is it's a pair of long, solid, retractile tentacles are present. See, one already we know. They get their name Ctenophora because they have these comb-like plates on their surface, which is used for locomotion. So there are 8 such plates, isn't it? Now, in addition to that, you can also see that they have a pair of retractile tentacles, but these are retractile one. That means they can be extended or they can be shortened, retracted back. Okay, so that is very important one. So that so in addition to the comb, those combs or comb plates, presence of retractile tentacle is one of the very important feature you can see in case of these ctenophorans. Then if you go to the organization, like these cnidarians, they have a cell tissue grade of body organization, where just the next level, from cellular level, tissue formation takes place. That means group of cells are coordinating with each other to perform a particular function. Okay, so that's what we call as a tissue. So we have group of cells which can coordinate and perform a particular function with coordination, in coordination among themselves, and they are not so developed that they can be called as an organ. So such level of organization is seen here. Now, in addition to that, we can also say that they are acoelomates because they don't have a body cavity, and very interestingly, these cnidarians are triploblastic individuals. So, in previous section we have seen that the cnidarians are diploblastic with only two layers of body wall, the gastrodermis and the ectodermis, isn't it? Okay, but here the condition is different. Even though it is a related member, these are triploblastic individuals. They are acoelomate because there is no body wall. And here, now there is a epidermis, there is a gastrodermis, but the jelly-like mesoglea, it has a cells. That's why it is a triploblastic condition. Now, when I say triploblastic, it may not be as highly evolved as in case of higher animals from platyhelminthes onwards. No, it's not so well evolved, but still a primitive triploblastic condition is seen in case of these cnidarians with the jelly-like mesoglea and cells as well as the fibers. Okay, yeah, you can see here. We might be using the slide again. So this is how the body is. You can also see the tentacles there. There is a mouth, and then there is an anal pore. So this is a very interesting one. In case of these cnidarians, you see blind sac body plan with only anus. But here you can see a anal pore with only mouth there, without anus in case of cnidarians. But here you can see a anal pore. Okay, and a specific anal canal which is also provided with the statocyst, very interestingly. So there is a mouth, there is a anal pore too with the anal canal. That's how they are different from these cnidarians. Okay, so next, moving to the next slide. Maybe we are going to finish off for today with this. So here, the digestive system, as I said, it is almost complete with there is a mouth and a stomatium, and then there is a gastrovascular cavity as we have seen in case of Salient, and there are two aboral anal pores. Okay, small pores are present. But as I said, the name Acnidaria is because there is no nidoblast, there is no nematocyst. The stinging cells, what we call, they are absent. But instead, there is a special cell called as colloblast. Okay, what you are seeing here in the picture is a colloblast. So these colloblasts are special features of cnidarians or of ctenophora. Okay, and these are present on the tentacles and they help in food capturing with a straight filament and a spiral filament. There is a straight filament and there is a spiral filament also. Okay, so this is the structure of a colloblast. See, it is lace-like. It is lace-like. Okay, so lasso cells. That's how. That's one more name for it. Lasso cells or colloblasts are present in case of these ctenophorans. And the rest of the general features, so let's discuss in the next session. Let's see what are the other beautiful things, or what are the other beautiful features we can explore in case of these cnidarians. They might be having some interesting features. After all, they are living in the marine ecosystem and they definitely need some adaptations to live in those areas. And let's also try to figure out how they are different from Salient or cnidarians in our next session. Okay, so let's see one by one the quiz. Let's see how much you have understood. So comb jellies are, let's see the options that are given: Salient, scyphozoans, ctenophora, none of the above. So what is your answer? I am sure you won't be having any difficulty in telling this, and the answer is C, Ctenophora. So Ctenophora also gets its name as comb jellies because they have jelly-like body and comb-like plates on their body surface. Okay, the next question. In Ctenophora, body is a diploblastic acoelomate. Whether the body is a diploblast or acoelomate, triploblast and acoelomate, diploblastic and coelomate, triploblastic and coelomate. Is it diploblastic or triploblastic? Choose your option. So, if it is diploblastic, is it acoelomate or coelomate? Then select the answer. And in triploblastic, if it is triploblastic, is it acoelomate or coelomate? What's your answer? Okay, now the correct answer is B. They are triploblastic and they are acoelomates. The third question is locomotor structures in a Ctenophora. Okay, recall what we have discussed in the general features. So, is it tube feet? Are they prolegs? Or are they comb-like plates or statocyst? Again, you may not be having any difficulty in answering because the name Ctenophora itself is because of comb-like plates. Yes, the answer is C. Okay, now coral used in building material is. Okay, you might be having slight memory loss by this time. Let's see the options that are given. Porites, corallium, mellipora, none of this. The answer is porites, isn't it? Yes. Okay. The last question. Following is economic importance of coral. Is it ornamental, used in oil industry, in fish nursery, all of the above? Yes, you are correct. It is all of the above. So let's summarize. The coral reefs serve as a habitats for many plants and animals like sponges, molluscans, echinoderms, fishes, etc. The Corallium rubrum is the precious stone that is used in ornaments. Ctenophora is the small phylum of marine animals and they are commonly known as sea walnuts or comb jellies. And this is my reference for this session.